All right, guys, so today we're looking at drawing a grid on our paper. We're gonna start looking at the grid method of drawing. So we're actually gonna take three different drawings. The first, level one, I guess we can call it level one, would be us learning how to set up the grid. And we're gonna just have a line drawing that we're gonna draw, and then we'll color it using colored pencils. Our level two drawing will be a drawing that's a little bit more difficult, and with that drawing we're going to practice and learn how to shade with pencils. And then the level three drawing will be you drawing a pencil drawing of your choice. So here in the next couple of days we'll take a look at those, and but for today we're setting up this grid so that you can draw the level one drawing. If you can follow these steps, you know, some of the things I can tell you about grids is you want to draw them super light, because when you're done with your drawing, you want to get rid of the grid. You don't want people to see that you were using a grid when you were drawing. So I know for some of us it's hard whenever we're beginners to draw light, but I can tell you the easiest way to do this is to have your pencil, whenever you hold it, when you draw normally, you kind of, hold it like this. But whenever you're trying to draw light lines, you just hold it by the end, by the eraser. And let's say you have a ruler and you're trying to make a line. You just hold it by the end, put it against the ruler, and draw your lines. And that's a good way to draw your lines lightly. Usually when I'm making grids, they're usually about that light. So that's what we're looking for, light lines. Now here in a minute, when I start doing this demonstration, I'll be using a marker, because I know it's kind of hard to see up on the board. But just remember, it's gonna be a red marker, but it doesn't mean that on your paper you want to draw your lines dark. Draw them as light as you can. Now we'll go through this in steps. After each set of lines, I'll pause and then let you guys do the first set. We'll show you how to do the second set, and then after that you'll have your paper done. So to start off with, I'm looking at my paper in a landscape orientation, long ways in front of me horizontally. And whenever you're doing grids, whenever you're measuring, it's just one of the things you got to remember is you got to measure twice. That way you have two reference marks so you can draw your lines. So I'm going to put my ruler somewhere near the top. And when I mean somewhere near the top, I just mean, somewhere in this vicinity. When I say somewhere near the bottom, just somewhere near in the vicinity. So somewhere near the top, 0 on the edge of the paper. What I'm going to mark, I'm going to mark all the halves. So I'm going to mark half. I'm going to mark 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5. Now that I have those first sets of reference marks, I will slide my ruler down to the bottom. And just like a math equation, whatever I did on one side, I'll do to the other side. So now somewhere near the bottom, 0 on the edge, I'm gonna do the same marks. Mark it half, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, and 11.5. Once I have those two sets of reference marks, I can take my ruler and connect those marks and draw a line. Now what I've seen before is sometimes people, when they make their reference marks, they think that's their beginning and stopping points, and they'll draw their lines like from point to point. Remember, we want the lines to go all the way through the paper. Don't stop at your reference marks. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys some time. Turn on the lights. Give you guys some time to do this first set of lines. Wait, I gotta fix this one. All right. Pause the video. All right, now that we have our first set of lines, now we're gonna do the second set, the ones that cross. So now we're gonna flip our paper in front of us this way in a portrait orientation. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna measure at the top, measure at the bottom, connect our reference marks to draw our lines. So I'm starting off somewhere near the top, 0 on the edge of the paper, and we're gonna mark the same marks, all the halves. So I'm gonna mark 1/2 inch, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, and 8.5. Once I have my first set of marks, I'll slide my ruler towards the bottom, and I'm gonna mark the same thing at the bottom. 0 on the edge of the paper. I'll mark 1/2, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, and 8.5. Once I do that, I have my 2 sets of reference marks. And I can go ahead and connect those using my ruler and draw my lines. Now, for those of you that were having trouble with your ruler, you know, a lot of times when our ruler moves, when we're trying to draw lines, some of the things that I've seen that happen is, for example, if we hold our ruler, some people hold it in the middle, and then when they press against the ruler, I won't do this, but they really push against the ruler and it moves it. So the best thing to do, like I said, if you want to draw a light line, is just put it against the ruler edge and just slightly pull towards you. Don't push against the ruler. Also, if you're having a hard time with the ruler moving on you, you know, try to hold it as wide as you can and, you know, press it down, hold it down firmly. So that way, when you draw your line, it doesn't move on you. All right, just some pointers, because I know sometimes these things move on us and they mess up our grids, but that's one way to do it. Remember, hold it wide, good pressure, and whenever you're drawing your lines with your pencil, hold it at the end by the eraser. Just put it against the ruler and pull towards you. That'll give you a nice light line, and that'll help so your ruler doesn't move on you, because you're not putting a lot of pressure on it. All right, so we'll finish this set of lines, and then this will be our grid. I'll give you a couple minutes, and then the last thing we'll do, we'll label it, and then you'll be ready to begin your line drawing. Okay, so we have a picture. This is how we're gonna label it. The picture's gonna go landscape orientation, long ways horizontally. So the very first square, the little 1/2 inch square, we're gonna go ahead and X out. That's part of our border. And then we're gonna label these 1/2 inch squares going down the left side. We're gonna be letters, so it'll be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. This last one, we're not gonna do anything in because this is also part of our border. All right, and then along the top side, going across, you have your X, and then we're gonna number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that is your grid. I'm about to pass out the pictures that go along with this. Might talk a little bit about making viewfinders, and then let you guys get to work on this. All right, and if you have any questions, I'll be around.